Hey everyone, it's Chala Dinkoy, Tuesday Tea with Chala. Welcome. My God, it feels so strange to be talking to you here. Another night, another live. My God, I've been doing this for 9 days, you guys. This is a total change of pace because it's not part of the boot camp. And what I wanted to talk to you about after I take a sip in my cool little Turkish tea glass is things that I learned from my live launch. So I wanted to share with you, this was a first time experience for me. I hired a coach to teach me how to port my funnels from large stages at conferences to, from speaking and then from closing business in the audience into online funnels. And so here's some of the things that I learned. And the format that it took was a 9-day launch extravaganza that included 4 days of training, 5 days of bonuses, a total of 9 client testimonials who came on and did testimonials, and the program was the launch was a success. It started already on Monday, yesterday, and we've already started working with the clients, and I'm so happy and proud to say that this is the way forward for me, and it can just grow from here. But here are some of the learnings for me, in case some of you are looking to do the same, and in case some of you are in the same boat, or you just want to learn. So the first thing that I learned is building excitement builds business. Some of the things that I did in order to build excitement, because I needed to get people interested in what I was doing, but also I needed to get people to attend, and I needed to fill the room. The attendees needed to be 300 minimum, was so that the conversion numbers would work. And we ended up getting over 350 by the time that we launched. So the building the excitement though was really the critical part, because if I didn't have an event, I would never be doing things to build excitement. And what I found is that it not just built excitement with people who didn't know me, but it built excitement with people who were already in my circle. And I'll talk more about that later. The second thing that I learned was the main event is less important than the marketing surrounding it. And I have always found this to be true, because so many times my clients would be resistant against doing events. They'd be resistant against executive roundtables, power breakfasts, live launches, anything of the sort, because it was just too much work. There wasn't enough time. And what I always told them was, most of the time, you don't even almost have to run the event, right? You can say it's canceled, or you can say there wasn't enough attendance or converted to something, or you can say whatever you want about the event. You can do the event, but you don't have to do the event. The most things that you need to realize is you have to be able to market around the event. So that's the most important thing, marketing around the event, that suspense, that excitement, all of that. All right, so the third thing that I learned was that Facebook ads, and for the first time in my life, I spent so much money on Facebook ads. Oh my God, we spent our brains out, my team and I. And for the first time, I had something like 4 social sellers that were working. 2 that I hired and let go, and 4 that stayed on towards the end. And that's how we got things done. So 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. And they did a better job of prospecting and targeting than Facebook ads ever could. So Facebook ads didn't do it for me. The people that came through the Facebook ads were not a match. No matter how we tweaked it, no matter what language we used, no matter how many times we said it was B2B, no matter how many times we used the word CEO, no matter how I described the income of my ideal target, I described the dilemma of my ideal target, how the elevator pitch was actually, keeping them from closing multi-million-dollar corporate sales. Now, if you're, at a lower level, or a beginner, or you're B2C, you wouldn't necessarily be interested in that kind of language, was the thought. And we were getting lots of people to sign on. Like, we were getting 20 registrations per day from the Facebook ads in some cases, but yeah, It wasn't who we thought would be attracted to that message, and it was very surprising to us. So the Facebook ads did not pay out as well as our own targeting, because we knew exactly who we wanted off of LinkedIn. We knew exactly how many employees they needed to have, how many years of business, what industries, how they describe themselves, and so on. So this was an interesting thing, that LinkedIn and Facebook didn't mesh very well. There was a pocket of resistance. Now, some, LinkedIn folks were okay to port themselves into my Facebook group. This is the Facebook group, the B2B CEO Society. But others, they just either were like ignorant or resistant, and some even talked about the politics of Facebook. But it was mostly around just know-how. People are so well trained because of COVID now just to click on a Zoom link and to orient themselves that way. So we had an equal audience of both, although we actively tried to push people into Facebook. It didn't work 100%, and now I'm considering doing just LinkedIn groups. And of course, the problem with LinkedIn groups is I don't have the credentials to do lives. We were denied those credentials. I have no idea how to get them. If anybody knows how to get them, please let me know. But so LinkedIn and Facebook don't mesh that well. That's what this live launch taught me. And for the next live launch, I'm really reconsidering whether I'm going to do it the same way, or if I'm going to do it just on Zoom and LinkedIn and just keep it to LinkedIn. All right, so the next thing that I learned was that my list, so 100% of my clients that signed on for the program came from my own list, even though I had 4 social sellers that were new to the business and thousands of, hundreds of dollars, maybe up to $1,000 spent in Facebook advertising. They still came from my list. And what I learned, and these ladies had considered working with me in the past, for whatever reason they weren't ready, and they'd been on the sidelines for years in some cases. So what this whole thing taught me is that my fans are still watching, your fans are still watching you, and they're still interested potentially in working with you, and they're just looking for the right offer, or for you to explain what you do in a different way, or for you to have the right timing for the offer, because none of these ladies were interested in COVID. There was no COVID, so they weren't interested in the same things as before COVID as after. So, and a lot of what we teach is re-niching, repivoting, recapturing, if you've lost your clients, let's go get them, kind of thing. So that's the learning, is my list of fans are still watching and waiting for new opportunities to work with me. So your list is really, as a company, the most valuable thing you could have. If you're not building that list through engaging content, putting out valuable solutions to the problem of your primary target, and you're not exchanging their information, their contact information, email, for that valuable information, you're not building a list. And if you're not building a list, there's no interaction with them in which you can one day sell to them. So that's what is the whole thing that I try to build with my clients, is this marketing train where you're putting people onto the train, so that they may not get off at every stop, but when it's their time, when it's their destination, they will take you up on it. All right. Okay, number 6, what I learned, and there's only 7, don't worry, there's only 7. Number 6 is interviews are golden. I'm gonna take another sip because I met one, such an interesting Virginia Parsons. She's so cute, a podcast host. She hosted me, and oh my gosh, she kept saying such amazing things. She kept saying, that's a pack your bags moment, and it cracked me up. But she learned it from, oh gosh, she told me who, but one of these big gurus, and she said it was like, whatever you just heard was so valuable that it was a pack your bags, and if you left at this moment, you'd still get value out of what you just heard. So it's a pack your bags moment. So this was a pack your bags moment, is about the interviews. Wait, I'm gonna drink. Pack your bags moment, guys. All right, interviews. How I approached, and I knew about the power of interviews. I have a podcast. I've hired a podcast agent. I know about the power of interviews. But what I hadn't been using it for was immediate satisfaction when I linked in to people, when I, reached out cold and wanted to feature them. If they registered for the bootcamp, I wanted to feature them in the B2B CEO Society with a live stream interview through StreamYard, and just 10 minutes just to talk about their business, but in a way to drive interest in the bootcamp, because there was like 3 mentions of the bootcamp. We asked questions about what content would you like for the bootcamp, and so on. So it was about them, but it was also about the bootcamp. So it was deliberately designed to be a sort of a tease for the bootcamp, and it drove up excitement. So much excitement, you guys. Here's what happened with the interviews. 1, interviews garnered me an audience bigger than I'd ever had. 2, it garnered me authority. I had people reaching out to me to be interviewed, even though they'd never heard of me. They didn't even know there was a bootcamp. They didn't know that this was a Facebook group, but people still wanted to reach out. Engagement. What ended up happening is people who I interviewed got connections through the interviews, because we repurposed them. My team repurposed them on every stream of social media. And if we had the social media names and tags or credentials of the guests, we would tag them in every social media, except for TikTok. I don't do TikTok. And Snapchat. I don't do Snapchat. And then the next one was content. Interviews gave me content. It gave me content so that I can repurpose again and again. I could take clips. In one instance, in fact, I tried to make it into a contest. If you brought 5 friends to register for the bootcamp, you would get your own video with the billboarding of your name and of your title and the whole, music in the background, the editing, everything. People didn't want that. I mean, I did a demo for my friend Connie, who interviewed as well, but it provided content. This interview thing was just out of this world. And of course, it was an amazing hook on LinkedIn. I could not believe how people were so interested whenever I would DM them, which is direct messaging them, and I said, hey, first we did a little bit of an icebreaker chat, just like you would at regular networking, like having a cocktail party, and then I would bring out the big guns and ask them some question around prospecting, elevator pitching, something their messaging. And then it would come out that I was doing this boot camp, and I would say, hey, if there's any interest in looking at your messaging, to reach more corporate decision makers, I'm having this free 9-day thing. And by the way, if you're interested and you do sign up and you find value, I'm doing 10-minute interviews with students to drive excitement into the bootcamp. And people were like, yes, yes, yes. Now, a lot of those people didn't even show up to the bootcamp, but that's okay, because it's now become a hook. And since then, I've decided that is going to be the hook moving forward. It's going to be, and I do need a group where I can do this. I can gather all the prospects, and I can nurture them with great content, and I can have a community and a presence. And Facebook groups seems to be the only place that I can do that, but I'm absolutely going to take a look at how it can be done in LinkedIn for sure. So interviews are the bomb, you guys. I'm probably going to do them on Zoom and just record them, so they won't be live into the LinkedIn groups. That's the only downside. But very few people watch live anyway, right? Lots of people watch it through replays. Okay. Then the last learning that I have for my live launch is that rinse and repeat. So every time I do it, and that was my first time, and I got such a great result. So every time I do it, it's going to be better and better and better and better, because I'm going to learn more, and I'm going to trim the fat, and I'm going to learn more, and I'm going to trim more fat, and I'm going to learn more and do a better job. And I'm going to tailor it for exactly who I want to attract, because I know what works now. So that's what I wanted to offer to you, that if you're struggling with the traditional channels, it is absolutely possible to learn how to do it in the new way. And if you pay top dollar to teach the top people who are making top dollar in their own industry, that's the person to learn it from, you guys. And Don't get stuck in fear of not spending because of the economy and because of the COVID situation. I got out of that, and I'm able to repay all the engagements that I've made in new coaching programs, in new training programs, and able to pay my team. So, and able to go on mini vacations. So I am so happy that you're here. I'm so happy that we have this group. As I said, I'm gonna make the decision on whether we're gonna port it to LinkedIn. And please leave a comment if you'd be interested in staying here in this group in Facebook, or if you'd be interested in coming along with us to LinkedIn if we were to have a B2B CEO Society LinkedIn group. I would love to hear from you. So go ahead, write whatever you want, and any comments are welcome. And thanks so much for watching, everyone. All the best. Bye-bye.